So Avermedia has been bringing some heat with their new lineup of webcams in a market that does seem oversaturated. A few months back when the year started, we took a look at their PW513 webcam that I absolutely loved thanks to its amazing 4K video quality and wide field of view. And in today's video, we have the Avermedia PW315. Now this is kind of like a little brother to the 4K webcam that we reviewed from Avermedia. It comes in at 120 bucks and is 1080p and 60 FPS. Now Avermedia did send me this webcam for free to review for you guys. For those of you that have been here for a while know that that doesn't matter. We're gonna tear this guy apart together to see if it's worth that price tag. Not to mention they're seeing this review at the same time you are and have no input on it whatsoever. It does look super similar to its 4K variant. You have that same cylindrical type body with a fully articulating arm that clamps easily to any surface you try to use it on. It's super lightweight and connects via USB Type A with a cord that comes in at 57 inches in length. Now like its bigger brother, you also get an LED light that notifies you when you're using it, along with a sliding privacy shutter to cover up the webcam when it's not in use. Most webcams that give us 1080p and 60 FPS like this one aren't really cost effective. You have the Razer Kiyo Pro, which I reviewed a few weeks ago that I thought was overpriced, and then you have the Logitech Stream Cam, which we reviewed almost a year ago, which obviously wasn't the best. Both significantly more expensive than this guy. Alright, let me go ahead and cover this because apparently some people actually asked me this. No, do not use the built-in microphone on this webcam for streaming and recording. Do not use any built-in microphone on any webcam. They're not the best. If you're streaming and recording, please guys, come on, 2021. Let's pick it up, alright? Let's get a USB microphone. I've reviewed a ton of them here on the channel for you guys. Get it together. Use that built-in microphone as a last resort. What should be a first resort for you though is smashing that like button for both me and the YouTube algorithm, letting both of us know that you guys enjoy videos like this, while also subscribing because I am trying super hard to get to 15,000 subs. I love you in advance. All right guys, so now we're up here in the game room. I've got some lighting here. I'm currently talking to you guys on the Sony a7S II with a 20mm f1.8 lens. I wanted to cover the software first, which is one of the things that I absolutely can't stand. I hate the Razer Synapse software. I hate this Avermedia software. I feel like if you're someone who's streaming and gaming and you're using OBS primarily, there's no reason to open up the Avermedia software. You're just doubling down on software and using two at the same time for no reason. You can adjust a lot of the same settings in OBS, so keep that in mind. But if you're someone who's not streaming and gaming and you're using this webcam for video conferencing and stuff like this, let's go ahead and switch over to the Avermedia Cam Engine software and we can play with it a little bit so you guys can see what it's all about. Also, if you do have this software open and you adjust anything in it, the same adjustments that you make will apply in OBS for you guys. So if that's another thing that you're looking forward to, you can go ahead and do that as well. So let's go ahead and switch over to the Avermedia software now. And with the webcam here, you guys can see I have some lighting. We'll also do a ton of testing later to where we compare all the webcams and all that other stuff. But I wanted to cover the software first for you guys. Here in the basic part of the software, you can go ahead and zoom like before. It seems to work now, but what it's noticing here is that the webcam is not fitting the box anymore. I had this same issue with the much more expensive Avermedia 4K webcam that we reviewed a couple of weeks ago. It gave me that same thing where it wasn't filling the frame. I don't understand what's going on with it. It still isn't fixed. So I'll bring that up to Avermedia's attention. I'll send them an email once this video is over. But here you have your filters, your effects, all this other stuff. And here we go again. Just like before, I can't adjust anything. I'm gonna have to close the software and open it back up. But I'm always running into this issue where I can't fix anything. Nothing's working for me, and it's super frustrating. The top part works, but getting into the filters, effects, and this stuff, it never works for me. This is why I hate using this software, and pretty much any software that you have to use, whether it's the Razer Synapse, this, I mean, there's a ton of them out there. I just want a webcam that I could plug in, adjust a little bit, and start gaming right away. That's what everyone wants. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna close the software. I'll open it back up again. Alrighty guys, so we got it finally open here and I got it working now. I closed OBS. I don't know if OBS is interfering with it. It may be what's going on. I'm not sure. But here we have the software. One thing that I absolutely love about this webcam is this field of view. You get the same field of view as the other 4K webcam that Avermedia makes that we reviewed. It looks so good. The colors look accurate and I don't even have to adjust anything. But let's go ahead and play with a little bit. Here you have your brightness where you guys can see. Typically, if you have your lighting set up properly, you won't even have to mess with these settings, to be honest with you. Contrast, I like leaving mine at 0. Your hue, same thing, leave it at 0. Saturation, sharpness, I don't really need too much more. Let's go into the advanced settings here. Here you can play with your gamma, which again, I like leaving mine at its default setting. White balance you can uncheck. This is pretty much more so if you don't have the right color temperature. Like say if you have a light that has more yellow in it and white. You can go ahead and play with it here a little bit to offset that and fix it. Gain, I don't really want to mess with this too much because I don't want it to get too grainy. We'll just leave it how it was. Now at the bottom here, you have your anti-flicker. So say if you're in an environment where you have some LED lighting behind you and it's flickering, typically this happens with most cameras that are recording, say with LED lights. If you get that flicker, you can go ahead and select the 50 Hertz or 60 Hertz option, and it should minimize that or completely eliminate it for you. So if you're having that issue, you can go ahead and set the anti-flicker here. Getting into filters here, you have your skin tone and your smoothing. Now you can go ahead and use this. I don't think it's really necessary, but just know that if you do use this part of the software, it will be a little bit more taxing on your PC, so keep that in mind. Getting into effects, yes, you can download some effects here. I haven't used this. You can download some. Now getting into EPZ, this pretty much lets you select from different preset frames. It lets you track subjects, so if you want to track your face or your mouth that's moving, again, we're getting a bit more advanced here. You have that option on doing this. At the top, you can set profiles up here based on certain settings. If you plan on taking this webcam out on the road with you and you want to set up a separate profile, you can go ahead and do that up here. When you do go ahead and open it up in the OBS Studio software, you'll notice two things. One is that you have two devices. One will be the live streamer cam 315 and the other one will be the Avermedia PW315 cam engine. And what will happen is if you select the live streamer cam and you try to configure the video, you'll get the OBS properties here, which are super similar, like I mentioned before. But if you do go ahead and open up the second part and pick up the second device instead of the first one, which is the Avermedia with the cam engine, it'll automatically open up the live streamer cam software for you guys directly, so you don't have to go ahead and open it up separately. So that's a feature that actually works for me now. It didn't work for me before. It does work for me now. But as you guys can see when you're looking at this, a lot of the stuff that you might need, I mean, you're not going to be zooming a lot here when you're streaming, okay? It's not going to, I mean, you can set different stuff. If you have like an Elgato Stream Deck, you can go ahead and set that stuff. But typically overall for color profiles, brightness, and that kind of stuff, most of your basic settings, you can go ahead and just adjust them directly in OBS Studio to where you don't have to open up the live streamer cam software. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to do a couple of webcam comparisons. I'm going to throw in the Avermedia 4K camera. I'm going to throw in the Razer Kiyo Pro for you guys. I'm going to compare this in lighter and darker situations so you guys can get an idea. First off, let's go ahead and switch over to the Avermedia webcam so I can show you guys what it looks like. This is with their dark setting. And again, it's not fitting the frame. So let me extend this. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and take this webcam and throw it in the previous two videos that I did with the Razer Kiyo Pro and the 4K Avermedia webcam, so you guys can see what it looks like compared to those webcams first. Alright guys, so now what we're going to do next is we're going to take the Avermedia webcam and we're going to stack it up against the Logitech C930E and the Razer Kiyo. I'm also going to throw in this Sony a7S II that you guys are currently watching me on into the mix so you guys can see a complete grid, but obviously the Sony is in a class of its own, so don't compare it to that. The Avermedia, the Kiyo, and the Logitech C930E are all in that same price range, 120 bucks, so it should be fair somewhat as far as pricing goes. We're going to compare them in a total dark situation, a darker situation, and then we'll also throw in some key lighting and an aperture light so you guys can see what these webcams look like when you have the proper lighting setup. So let's go ahead and do that now and see which one of them is the best. Alright guys, so here's our first test. This is going to be the low light test between all four webcams. Obviously the Sony a7S II, it's not a webcam, it's a mirrorless camera. But the other three webcams, as you guys can see, when we use our hand here, this is a test I just like doing. You can see how much lag that you get with the Logitech and the Razer. Razer's not that bad, but when you look at the Avermedia webcam, it's strikingly similar to the much more expensive Sony a7S II. So this is what the low light test looks like. As you guys can see, also the Razer Kiyo color needs to be adjusted. These are all, by the way, in the default settings of each one of these webcams and cameras. Let's go ahead and add some lighting here with the Razer Kiyo. It's probably gonna help the other cameras out more than the Kiyo. There you guys can see that the Kiyo is starting to do that focus hunting that I always experience with that webcam. This is a little bit of lighting. Let's go ahead and add even more lighting. We'll throw on a big aperture light here and see how that affects the webcam quality in this test. All right, so now as you guys can see, I'm bouncing the aperture light off the wall so it doesn't look too harsh. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the Kiyo ring light because it doesn't seem to be helping the Kiyo whatsoever. Let's go ahead and do that same test. A little bit better. Logitech still has that lag. One of the biggest things that I always talk about is the field of view. And as you guys can see with the Avermedia webcam, just like the 4K variant that we reviewed on this webcam a couple of weeks ago, It's super wide, and that's what gamers and streamers love. Now, I know I keep talking about 4K video quality, and I feel like it should be standard in 2021. If you're someone that doesn't really need that, and you're just doing web conferencing and stuff like that, you really don't care for 4K quality, I want to talk to you guys here for a second. I completely understand. I'm not attacking you guys that don't have 4K in your webcams or your mirrorless cameras that you're using. I'm just throwing out there that I feel like maybe most webcams should have it. I mean, the Logitech Brio had 4K video quality 3 years ago, right? So I feel like in 2021, 4 years ago. So I feel like in 2021, it should be standard. But if you're someone that doesn't need 4K and you don't want to go ahead and pick up the much more expensive Avermedia camera that, well, it's not much more expensive, it's around 250 bucks. But comparing it to the Razer Kiyo Pro that we reviewed 2 weeks ago, I'll leave that video link down below for you guys. That webcam's $200 and it sports pretty much the same quality as the Avermedia does, and the Avermedia is $120. So you guys can see where I'm kind of going with this. So one thing I did, I went ahead and I turned off the key light on the Razer Kiyo. It doesn't seem to help at all. It never really helped me. I went ahead and I added a second key light up here at a different angle along with the aperture. One thing you'll notice is what you're really paying for with these webcams and these mirrorless cameras. When you look at the Sony camera, you get that blurred out background. It's at 1.8 right now, but that's kind of where you see that price come in terms of why it costs that much money when you pair it with an expensive lens. But you guys can see overall the Avermedia webcam, it's holding its own. I really like it. If I were to personally start off right now and I needed a 1080p webcam, I'd highly consider this one over the Razer Kiyo Pro, the Razer Kiyo, and the Logitech. This is the C930E, by the way. As you guys can see, I got them labeled in the bottom corners. But here it is, full lighting in effect. This is what the webcams look like. For someone that's just starting out on a budget, you guys can see what you get with the Avermedia webcam at 120 bucks versus the competition. Now, when I think about what's out there in terms of webcams, if I was on a budget under 150 bucks, I would definitely go with this guy over everything else. That's just the honest truth. I mean, looking at the comparisons we did, it all makes sense. The field of view is amazing. The quality is decent. The software is also somewhat decent when it works. For me and for everyone else, this should be your beginner webcam, hands down. Let me know down below in the comment section which one of these webcams you think look the best. I'm curious. Aside from that, if you want to go ahead and pick up any one of them and support the channel at the same time with no extra cost to you, I will make sure to have them all linked down below for you guys. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you smash that like button for me and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next episode. Peace.